Hi friends, today we are going to look at census and sampling. We know what a population is. Group of individuals under study is called population. A finite subset of statistical individuals in a population is called a sample, and the number of individuals in the sample is called the sample size. Broadly speaking, information on a population can be collected in two different ways: through a census survey by adopting a sample survey. A census is a study of every unit, everyone, or everything in the population. The main difference between census and sampling is a census refers to a complete enumeration of the population, while sample survey represents only a partial enumeration. Then about merit of census survey. Data are obtained from each and every unit of the population. The results obtained are likely to be more representative, accurate, and reliable. It is an appropriate method of obtaining information of rare events such as areas under some crops. Data of complete enumeration or census can be widely used as a basis for various surveys. These advantages of census method is not very properly used in practice. The effort, money, and time required for carrying out complete enumeration will generally be extremely large. Also, if the population is finite or the evaluation process destroys the population unit, census method cannot be adopted. Sampling procedure is admittedly a long established practice. Every one of us had an occasion to use it. The state of health of a person is determined only from a few drops of his blood. Again, the quality of cup of tea is judged by sipping it once. We access the quality of sugar, wheat, or any other commodity by taking a handful of them from the bag and then decide to purchase it or not. A housewife normally tests the cooked product to find if they are properly cooked and contain the proper quality of salt. In this example, and possibly many other, little attention need to be paid to the selection of the sample size. The whole material is well mixed or perfectly homogeneous with references the item under study, then census and sample survey both produced identical results. The purpose of sample theory is to make sampling more efficient. It attempts the developed method of sample selection or estimate in such a way that the reasonable conclusion could be drawn about the precision of these estimates. Not only that, the precision of estimates could be controlled, and further, the cost of the survey is made least by the adoption of sample theory. It is a significant achievement of the sampling theory. Advantages of sampling. First one, reduce cost. As we are collecting information only from a part of the aggregate in sampling effort, an expense required will be very much less than that required for a census survey. Since in most of the census, our resources are limited in terms of money, and the time within which the results of the survey should be obtained is usually imperative to resort to sampling rather than complete enumeration. Second one is greater speed. Sampling makes possibly a very considerable increase in speed, both in the execution of fieldwork and in the analysis of the results. This may be consideration while information is urgently needed. Greater scope. In certain type of inquiry, highly trained person or more sophisticated equipment must have to be used to obtain the data. But in many cases, a sufficient body of investigators are rarely be and trained, totally ruling out a complete enumeration. In such cases, the ultimate choice lies between a sample survey or no survey at all. Then about greater accuracy. Because person of high quality can be employed and can be give incentive training for a sample survey. The observation from the sample survey are frequently more accurate than those employed in a complete inquiry. If the population is too large, we are left with no way but to resort to sampling. If testing is destructive, complete enumeration is impracticable and sampling is the only method to be used. For example, testing of crackers and explosive, testing life length of a electric bulb, etc. If the population is hypothetical, sampling method is the only specific method of estimating the parameters of the population. It is to be noted that the sample survey does not admit universal application. There are situations where sample survey cannot be applied. For example, preparation of voters list, selecting personnel in the firm, etc. The advantages of sampling over census can be decided only if the sampling units are drawn in a scientific manner, appropriate sampling technique is used, the sample size is adequate. The process of sampling involves three elements. First one, selecting the samples, collecting information, making inferences about the population. The three elements cannot generally be considered in an isolation from one another. Sample selection, data collection, and estimation are interwoven and each has an impact on another. Types of sampling. The method of selecting a sample is a fundamental importance in the theory of sampling and usually depends upon the nature of data and the type of inquiry. The procedure of selecting a sample may be broadly classified as judgment or purposive sampling, probability sampling, mixed sampling. Purposive sampling or judgmental sampling. In this sampling, the sample is selected with definite purpose in view, and choice of sampling units depends entirely on the discussion and judgment of the investigator. This sampling suffers from the drawback of favoritism and nepotism. It involves beliefs and prejudices of the investigator and thus does not give the representative sample of the population. This sampling method in seldom is used for general use since it is often biased due to the element of subjectiveness on the part of the investigator. However, if the investigator is experienced and skilled and sampling is carefully used, then judgment samples may yield valuable result. Probability sampling. This is a scientific method of selecting samples according to some laws of chance in which each unit in the population has some definite pre-assigned probability of being selected in the sample. The different types of probability samplings are each unit has an equal chance of being used, sampling units have different probability of being selected, probability of selection of unit is proportional to the sample size. Advantages of probability sampling. Probability sampling does not depend upon the existence of detailed information about the universe and its effectiveness. Probability sampling provides estimates which are essentially unbiased and have measurable precisions. It is possible to evaluate the relative efficiency of various sample designs only when probability sampling is used. Then, about limitations. Probability sampling requires a very high level of skill and experience for its use. It requires a lot of time to plan and execute the probability sample. The costs involved in probability sampling are generally larger as compared to non-probability sampling. Mixed sampling. If the samples are selected partially according to some laws of chance and partially according to fixed sampling rule, they are termed as mixed samples, and the technique selecting such a sample is known as mixed sampling. Hope you understood the basic concept of census and sampling, merits of census survey, advantages of sampling, types of sampling. Thank you.